Testing, testing, testing.
Got it? Okay, yeah. You get something else.
Testing, testing. What's up?
We're looking to get something over here, so we don't have to go through you guys anymore. We just get a direct.
Testing, testing. 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 Testing, testing, testing.
arrive in order for us to have a quorum in order to begin. So just to let you know. called to order. And Ms. Nestor Jelen, if you would kindly call the roll.
Sure, I just want to verify tech services. Are we off of mute? Okay, now I can hear. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and call the roll. Skip Daly,
Here.
Pamela Davidson, Guy Loftman,
Here.
Dee Owens,
Here.
Margaret Clemens.
Here.
Okay, we have 4 members in attendance, 3 in person, and a quorum.
Is there a motion to introduce the evidence?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to introduce the following items into the evidence. The Monroe County Comprehensive Land Use Plan as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Zoning Ordinance as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Subdivision Control Ordinance as adopted and amended. The Board of Zoning Appeals Rules of Procedure as adopted and amended. And the case is advertised and scheduled for a hearing on tonight's agenda.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I will call the roll. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-0.
Okay, and the agenda has been amended in that all of the variances, I think there are 5 of them regarding the Hoover Design Standards variance, has been withdrawn by the petitioner. So if there's anyone in the audience or online who is here to attend the Hoover variances, the packet of 5 variances, we will not be covering that tonight. But other than that, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve tonight's agenda as presented. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the agenda. Dee Owens,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes?
Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Okay, and we have before us 2 sets of minutes, one from the December 6th meeting and one from the January 3rd meeting. Would anyone like to move to approve those collectively or separately?
I move to approve the minutes of both dates.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the BZA minutes. Those were from December 6th, 2023 and January 3rd, 2024. A vote yes is to approve both sets of minutes. Skip Daly,
Present.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 3-0.
Okay, and we have one item under administrative business that's been pending for a few months, and this pertains to the proposed changes to the Board of Zoning Appeals Rules of Procedure regarding amended petitions.
Point of order
Yes.
before we proceed. Madam Chair, is there an internet issue with Monroe County government public going on?
For some, yes, but for others, no.
I can't get it either.
I'm on.
You're on, I'm not.
I'm not.
I hear from out here in Never Never Land, I hear all of you all just fine.
Well, that's probably through the mics.
Yes.
Well, I suggest we proceed. I'll, if I get lost, I'll.
That's the ordinance that's under review.
If you need a printed packet, please let us know. I'll try and get another device going and see if that will work.
If we don't mind, folks don't mind me putting my glasses on, I'll try to pay attention to this one.
We're just having a technical internet connectivity problem that we're trying to resolve because we usually.
I'm going to move closer.
Oh, good.
Usually I sit over here, but
Perfect.
I think that will give me a better.
Very nice. Okay, and you're welcome to do the same, Skip.
I'm glad I brought the large Mountain Dew today. All right,
Yes.
I apologize for the interruption.
That's okay. I will scroll slowly through the rules of procedure. amendment, and then if, for any point during the meeting, if you need staff to switch back to the packet instead of the PowerPoint, we're happy to accommodate that.
Thanks.
So this is a amendment to the rules of procedure, and you'll see track changes to try to, we try to do a few things with this rules of procedure change. One is to make sure that it was in line with how meetings are conducted. And then the other issue that we wanted to address was in regards to criteria for when we take an amended petition or application. So I will scroll down to the yellow parts that are new here, substantially new, that I would like the BZA to focus on. So the first item is actually in regards to a few cases that we've had this year and last year where we have multiple variances. And so in coordination with staff, legal, and also just what we've heard from you all in meetings, we are recommending that petition sites with multiple variances can be heard at the same hearing, but use variances shall be decided prior to consideration of a use's associated design standard variances. Should the use variance be denied by the Board of Zoning Appeals, the associated design standards variances shall be null and void. And that's so that you don't have to remind yourself of the specificity of each of these cases to have them go to 2 meetings. But we didn't want to say that it was required that they both be heard at the same meeting in case that person, the petitioner, didn't want to take the risk of paying upfront for both use and design standard variances in the event the use variance got denied.
I think that makes sense to me, but are there other changes you'd like to review with us?
Yes.
And then there will be questions.
And then under final disposition of cases, number 4, an appeal or petition which has been decided against the petitioner shall not again be placed on the docket for consideration by the board within a period of 12 months from the date of the decision, unless it is requested by the appellant/petitioner and adopted by a unanimous vote of all members present. In determining whether to approve docketing of the matter, the board will give consideration to the extent to which the proposed filing addresses the reasons of the board denial of the prior filing, any changed circumstances relating to the subject property or use, and any subsequent changes to or clarifications of relevant laws. If the board approves the docketing of the matter, it shall be subject to fee provisions for amended petitions.
Okay.
And just the final signature page we updated.
Okay.
So that's the main issues that we wanted you to review.
And I would like to open it up for discussion among my colleagues here on the Board of Zoning Appeals. If anyone has comments and or a motion.
Well, I'd be glad to comment that I feel that these are all beneficial. We don't need to, some of them are pretty straightforward, not having a gendered chair in the rules, and in the hearing things together is, I think, great for us and the public, because it means if I figure once I get into the midst of something, being able to finish that case is very helpful for me. But I can see why some people would say they don't want to have them both together. So I think we're giving the public the option of getting everything done at once. And so I feel very comfortable with that, and I think you've done a real good job of wording it. In terms of the amended petitions, I think we got in trouble some time back, from my perspective, over ambiguity in that, and I wanted to be clear that that's not the realm of the staff, but the realm of the board to decide whether an amended petition will be heard, and I think this makes it clear, and in a way that also gives guidance to anybody who does want to amend their petition, saying you can't just slap amended on it. You've got to address the substantive concerns that have been affecting that affected the board's decision. So in light of that, I move adoption of these rules as presented, but I don't want to shut off discussion of them. I just want
Yeah.
Okay.
With all due respect, Mr. Laughlin, I am absolutely not in favor of the sentence unless it is requested by the appellant petitioner. I think it needs to be, the process needs to be the way it currently is. If you want to reword something, that's fine, where the appellant and petitioner can present their request to staff, and staff can bring it as new business, but a motion absolutely needs to come from the board prior to this happening. So that getting scratched out will not receive my support. And as a matter of fact, it will receive my absolute opposition.
Well, I think what Mr. Daly is recommending is that the words, unless it is requested by the appellant / petitioner, and be replaced with, unless it is adopted by the unanimous vote of all members present. Would that cut it?
The process as it stands, and it may not state it out steps 1, 2, 3 like this, but if somebody wants to, currently, if somebody wants to appeal, it needs to be brought to staff's attention, and then staff needs to make it aware. It does not go on the agenda. It gets brought up in new business as a request to put it on the agenda, and then somebody has to make a motion. It is not the petitioner's job to create a motion of new business for a board. It is absolutely against everything Robert's Rules of Order stands for, and I think that that would be contrary to what we're trying to accomplish here.
Let me see if if it said, unless requested by the appellant petitioner, certainly somebody has to say, would you please do this? Moved by a board member and adopted by the unanimous vote. Would that help? That is, first,
Sorry, as long as it's worded appropriately, where the appellant petitioner is requesting to staff, not to the board.
Right.
They request to staff, staff brings it up in new business, and then one of the 5 board members may or may not create a motion. It's not an automatic motion just because there's a request. And then it has to be unanimous.
right, and I think unless it is requested by the appellant petitioner, moved by a board member, and adopted by the unanimous vote, that just means that the staff puts it on the agenda.
Move to place it on the
Absolutely, and
agenda.
it is
Moved by the board, a board member, to place it on the agenda, and then adopted by the unanimous, that motion be adopted by the unanimous vote of all members present.
If you look, if the goal is further clarity, you mentioned the word ambiguous earlier. If that is the goal, this does not accomplish it.
Right, and we're making suggestion as to what I think, if I understand your concern, the words we're talking about, I think should satisfy that.
My concern is this presents a challenge that we do not currently have, in the fact that it could be understood that just because an appellant has a requested challenge to the decision, that it is automatically on the agenda. And that is absolutely not the case.
Could I make a kind recommendation to my colleagues here? Let us, can we set this item to the end of the agenda, get going with the business of the day, and then bring it back for further word revision and/or tabling until we work out those details?
You have the ability to just
Yes, yes.
I
Hammer the gauntlet.
support that. Let's
Okay.
get on with the
Let's
public
get on with the
business, and
public's
then we'll-
business,
we'll
okay?
deal with the boards.
So the first item on today's new business agenda is item number 1, and that's VAR-24-7. And this concerns the Highway Department's variance to provisions for flood hazard reduction to Chapter 808 concerning 2 road segments in Perry Township, Section 25, at the 4700, roughly speaking, East Stip Road in Salt Creek Township, Section 30, at 5,000, roughly speaking, East Moores Creek Road. And I believe Mr. Myers will review this for Tammy, or will you, Ms. Nestor?
I'll go ahead and review
Okay.
it for Tammy.
Thank you.
So this is a highway department project, and the request before you is in regards to they're not proposing what's called compensatory storage within the flood hazard area, which is a requirement under Chapter 808. So their project proposes to raise the vertical profiles of East Moores Creek Road and East Stip Road on their existing alignment and replace the existing Stip Road Bridge over Butcher Branch due to drainage issues and flooding. Most of the work involved will take place within the Special Flood Hazard Area Zone A fringe. The work includes fill, riprap, and retaining walls within the floodplain as part of the project. The Monroe County Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 808, requires that the volume of space which will be occupied by the authorized fill or structure below the base flood elevation shall be compensated for and balanced by an equivalent volume of excavation taken below the base flood elevation. This is broadly accounting for what we call compensatory storage. This is a more restrictive local standard than even the state has, and this was adopted in 2017 as part of our floodplain ordinance. So as part of our floodplain ordinance, we do require that even road projects by the Highway Department follow all of 808, which is why they're here today requesting the variance. So we've included on the screen a snippet of the project location. The areas are highlighted in yellow. And the state of Indiana does not require any kind of approval or permit because this is qualified under what's called a rural bridge exemption. So there was a record of environmental consideration submitted to the United States Army Corps of Engineers, granting the perpetual easement for purposes of this county highway project. And we've included the plans, a snippet of the plans in the packet, and we also have Ms. Kelsey Thatonia, our MS4 coordinator, here tonight to speak to you if you have any questions. And I'll just include just some of the examples from the site drawings, and again, this is to address largely a lot of the drainage issues that they see out on these roadways. And here's just a profile of some of the work that's being done, including retaining wall. And then you can kind of see the orange line is the existing grade, and then you see the bridge itself. So just as an example, we have a 4-foot increase to the road elevation addressing some of these flooding issues. So Chapter 808 does include variance procedures, so it's different than your typical Chapter 812 considerations for granting of a variance. So I will have these up on the screen and handy for when you do make a vote. But overall, staff is recommending approval of the floodplain variance and all conditions listed under Chapter 808-6D, which have been satisfied and confirmed based on an environmental assessment review and findings of no significant impact by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Since the compensatory storage design was considered optional and we adopted that optional standard as an extra protection in the county, we find that a variance request in this regard is appropriate. I also will mention that I received some photos from, I believe, an adjacent neighbor, and I'd be happy to share those with you. They were sent to my email, and I can share
Oh,
those.
sure, yes.
Okay. And I believe it's in support of the variance. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, so I'll just scroll through these photos. And I don't have exact context for these, but I believe someone may be present to speak to these, and I can have these up as reference as well. Those were the extent of the photos, and as I mentioned, we have Ms. Thatonia here as staff. If you have any further questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to
Will
answer.
she be acting as the petitioner then, or will Lisa Ridge or
Yes.
Paul Satterley?
Ms. Thatonia will be
Okay,
acting as petitioner.
so Ms. Thatonia, if you would like to make a presentation to our Board of Zoning Appeals, you would have 15 minutes, or if you would rather just take questions from the Board of Zone, oh, you're here. Oh, good, it's good to see you, Kelsey.
Before that happens, Madam Chair,
Yes.
could staff put the standards up on the screen? Thank you.
And does anybody else have, I think the questions would be better directed toward Ms. Thatonia after she's sworn in than to staff on this matter. So would you kindly please raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So yes, if there's something you'd like to say and or entertain questions, we're glad to hear you.
I'm Kelsey Thatonia, MS4 coordinator with the Highway Department. So I'm going to give my overview of this project, but I want to start by saying that I don't want to minimize the importance of the compensatory storage regulations that we have. I'm a huge proponent of compensatory storage in much of the county, especially in our critical watersheds where we have significant drainage concerns. This particular project is located in the Lake Monroe watershed, and the purpose of the project is to help with a flooding concern. The purpose of the project is to raise sections of roadway so that property owners in the area have access to their homes when the lake level is high, and so they have access to emergency services. The lake level can be high for an extended period of time, and this is one of the only areas in the county where we have extended duration flooding for months at a time, or weeks to months at a time. So in order to provide this access to the property owners, it is necessary to raise the portions of roadway. It ranges in height, but it's up to 4 feet in some of the lower areas. This project was included in our 2016 long-range drainage plan that the Highway Department contracted out. And it was one of the more difficult projects to implement, as you can imagine, because of its location, proximity to Lake Monroe, and location on Corps of Engineers property. In 2017, the Highway Department began the process to start implementing this project, and it's basically taken us up until this time to finally get it to a point where we're ready to start construction. Through the planning process, we worked with the Corps of Engineers to complete a full environmental assessment, and we received our finding of no significant impact in 2022. So it's been a long road to get here, but we analyzed all the different alternatives to minimize our environmental impact while still providing as much access as possible for the property owners in this area. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the project.
Okay, do members of the Board of Zoning Appeals have questions for Ms. Thatonia? Mr. Daly, I have one. I also serve on the East Monroe Water Corporation's Board of Directors, and I may have asked this before, but I'm not certain. Frequently, seems to be a repetitive leak in this area from on the water lines, and I think the volume can sometimes be quite high. And I don't know if any kind of gestalt kind of remediation of that water line could be done at the same time as people are in there trying to fix and remediate, the road problems.
That's a great point. We're still finishing up utility coordination, particularly with East Monroe Water Corp. We're not anticipating any utility conflicts, so we're hoping there won't be a relocation required for this project. But I am forming a relationship with them and trying to, foster that communication. So if there's something that needs to be done while the roadway is closed, it would be a great opportunity for them to do it, and I'll work with them on
Oh,
that.
that's wonderful. And if I can help, let me know.
Sure.
Yeah. Does anybody else have questions? Yes, Mr. Daly?
One of our set of criterion in making this decision is just the safety of access to the property in times of flood. You mentioned, can you get into that briefly so we can cross that off our list?
Can you say that one more time, please?
So the safety of access to the property in times of flood for ordinary and emergency vehicles or problems or maintenance, I imagine.
Yeah. So when the lake level rises above a certain elevation, these properties are completely cut off, and we have our road closed signs up anywhere from weeks to, I think in 2019, they had a flooding event where the lake level was high for a couple months. Emergency services cannot access these homes, and it is a huge concern for the county. We want to be able to provide access to these homes at all times when possible. Did I answer your question?
No, yeah, I just want to make sure on the record that was
Sure.
Mr. Loftman?
I've got two concerns, and in one of those photographs, which I understand somebody's going to be talking about later, but it looked like the mailbox post was about half covered. When this is done, is the grading going to allow people to put mailboxes, and will there be a shoulder, and how will people get their driveways to this if the road is suddenly 4 feet higher without their driveways just being, it's not that much help if the road's fine, but you can't get there from your driveway.
Our engineering plans address the driveway approaches and replacing or reinstalling mailboxes. All of that is addressed in our plan, so our engineers have figured all that out already.
And the county is not expecting private property owners to pay to get their driveways raised. That's part of the county's project, and
Yes.
they'll get brand new post office boxes, all new mailboxes if they want them.
I can't recall the exact plans for the mailboxes, but I know that that is addressed in the plans.
Okay.
So I don't want to say something incorrect.
Okay,
So.
good. And one other area, just because this is the first time I've ever dealt with this since I've been on the board or before. If we don't waive this, what would have to be done? What would the compensatory storage requirement look like?
To incorporate compensatory storage on this project at this point, it would require another environmental assessment and easement acquisition from the Corps of Engineers, which would be another $500,000.
So, and in order to store it,
Yeah.
let me tell you, I'm completely sympathetic to this proposal. I think it seems like a very practical way to solve a problem. I just want to understand what compensatory storage would look like.
Sure. It would require more excavation, so increasing your project footprint by excavating basically depressions in the land that would store additional volume of water.
Right, that's what I was.
Okay.
That you would create a great big swimming pool on the inside, on the uphill side, that would create storage for the amount of water that we can't, that this project is creating on that side.
Correct.
Sorta.
It would be an amazing engineering feat and a lot of
Right, and
resources.
it effectively couldn't be done on this site and still get the road raised, as a practical matter. Is that a correct?
That's how I feel about this,
conclusion?
correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. That helps.
Madam Chair, I have one more quick
Yes,
question.
Mr. Daly?
Now, the total cost of this project is on the government, and there are no additional charges or costs that will incur because of this. Landowners will not have to pay extra utility change or sewer connection costs. It's all on Monroe County. Is that correct?
Correct. We conducted a financial analysis of our stormwater program in 2019, and we did increase our stormwater fee in 2021 to help pay for a portion of this, as well as our other capital projects in our long-term drainage plan. But no, I'm not going to require any additional
Okay.
fee
So
increases.
other than regular taxes, that's the only responsibility.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll hear from the public now, both in favor and opposed, and if there's anybody opposed, you'll have an opportunity for a rebuttal. Thank you so much for your great presentation. If there are members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition, please come to the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes each to speak in favor of this petition. Yes. Thank you for sending the photos. I believe they're your photos and you're
My
already
photos,
signed
yes.
in. Please raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And thank you. And please state your name and say why you're in favor of this project.
My name's Philip Campbell. We built a house. You follow Butcher Creek and go up the hill about 200 feet in altitude. And when the big flood in 2019 came, I took all those photos, and I hope those added some context to this. We have some grandchildren living with us. To get them to the school bus, we had to walk down the driveway, walk across Butcher Creek at a low spot. Many times, grandchildren got splashed and wet. It was in the dark. My wife and I both twisted ankles. Not a good, ooh, this is where we're going to live for the rest of our lives kind of situation. We would walk until we got to a point on Stip Road that the school bus could reach. This was also where we had to park our vehicles the entire time that the road was flooded. We are tickled pink that this project is coming to fruition. We were told when we moved there, oh yeah, the county's got a project coming up, but I'll believe it when I see it. So thank you so much for doing this. That's really all I wanted to say. I just say we are so grateful that you're doing this, because it really makes it difficult when that road is flooded. And I thank Kelsey for all her work. Thank Jackie for helping me get the planning done to be able to build our house up there 5 years ago. I think it was you that was working there. So I just want to come here and convey my gratitude.
Well, that's really wonderful. And your photographs have really helped to provide context. And I've driven back there when it's been flooded, and I've waited for the waters to recede. But I hadn't considered getting children to the school bus and then parking your car and walking through that to get to your home. So thank you for providing that context.
Wonderful. One thing I would like to, Mr. Laufman already asked the question, but how far back are they going to raise the level of the access roads to Stipp Road and Moores Creek Road.
Well,
That would probably be best answered by Ms. Thetonian in the plans, in the engineered plans. So we
Okay.
can make sure that you get a copy of those plans. Maybe after the meeting, Kelsey can coordinate with you so that you are aware of the extent of the proposed construction as it relates to your property and other properties.
Okay. Sounds
Okay,
good to me.
and she might be able to answer the question after we hear from other members of the public, because she
Okay.
may have more than one question.
All right, thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Campbell. Are there other members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Thank you, and you're already signed in, correct?
Yes.
And please state your name.
Virginia Jackson.
And Ms. Jackson, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
We are very happy this is happening as well. And when do you think it will start? The trees are cut on our side, on East Moores Creek Road. When will the others get ready? Is it in the paper to do now, or is the trees just going to be cut for another year? And
We'll have to ask Ms. Thetonia when, during her rebuttal time, she can maybe answer some of those questions.
And are they working on the bridge too? Is the bridge going to be elevated, or is that just from one side? I've heard that the bridge would not be repaired or moved or replaced.
It looked like there were plans there, but again, I'll let her, because she's the expert. I thought that they said that it would be raised 4 feet, and there was a drawing there of a bridge.
That's
And-
what I thought, but we
Yes.
were told that Moores Creek Road the bridge would be left alone, which is down in, and it's always covered. That's the first thing it's covered. And that the people on Moores Creek would have an option to come out of our area and go to the right down Moores Creek. And that section in the middle would not be touched. And then the people on the other side, Stipp, would be able to get out. But the main concern was just that we could both get out.
Right. So we'll be able to answer those. I mean, normally we don't take questions from the public during the presentation, but perhaps when Kelsey, she's heard the questions, and perhaps she'll address some of these so that the confusion and the ambiguity can be
Okay.
alleviated.
But we're very happy that it's happening.
Thank you, Ms.
Or,
Jackson.
or perhaps better served, maybe the engineer can set up some kind of Zoom meeting or in-person meeting to do a question and answer, but that's on
Yes.
them. We just need to approve or not approve.
Yes, but thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Will this start soon?
Those questions could be answered at another time.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
We are definitely for it.
Okay, thank you. Are there other members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Please either come to the podium or raise your hand on this internet forum. I see that there is a person who wrote in the chat that we also live on Stipp Road, and we also have a school-age child that we had to walk out, and we don't have access to emergency service and fire protection services, and sometimes we are unable to access our home for 3 to 4 months during the flooding events. We greatly appreciate this project and appreciate you considering this variance. And that was signed by Crystal Pennington. So with that being said, is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor before we turn it to the people who would like to speak opposed, if there are any? I don't see anyone. Is there any member of the public who is opposed to this petition? Please come to the podium, or please make yourself known on this virtual format, or by telephone if you're calling in. Do you see anyone? Okay, so I'm going to indulge the requests of the public and ask Ms. Thetonia to answer quickly some of the questions that the public had.
All right. Thank you for giving me the chance to reply to some of these questions. So as you heard, we did begin tree removal on Moores Creek Road. We're only going to do one roadway section at a time, hopefully alleviate some of the burden on the residents in the area. So Moores Creek Road will be constructed first, and we plan to begin construction on that in 2024. We have not bid out construction yet, but we plan to do so very soon. Stip Road will follow in the following construction season. For driveway approaches, we did acquire temporary easement to help with the transition from the roadway into the driveways, and I'm happy to share snippets of that plan set with the property owners or walk it with you to show you the extent of the construction in that temporary easement area. Let's see, the bridge over Moores Creek on Stip Road, so that is the bridge just west of the intersection of Stip Road and Moores Creek Road. That is not part of this current project. The reason being is that we wanted to minimize the project area, reduce the environmental impact, and we were able to get the property owners access to the public roadway without raising that bridge. So Moores Creek Road residents would be able to, head north, and then Stip Road residents can head west when the bridge is flooded. The bridge is part of our highway maintenance program, and so we do regular inspections of that bridge, and we will complete any required maintenance that we see is needed for that. But right now, that portion of Stip Road is not part of this project. I do have a project manager and construction inspection with Lockmuller Group, and they have an email address for this project where anyone can send questions or talk to our project manager. His name is Jason Buck with Lockmuller Group. The email address is stipmoorescreek@lockgroup.com. I can send that to members of the board here if you'd like to have a copy of that email address and be able to receive the monthly updates that will be sent out. So
I would appreciate that, but also if you could repeat again that email address or the website address so that the people who are here with questions can contact the engineer with questions.
yes, it is STIPP-MOORESCREEK at Lock Group, that's LOCHGROUP.com.
Okay,
It's a long one.
well, that's very helpful.
So-
And the gentleman's name is Jason.
Jason Buck is our project manager.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Well, that's helpful. I think it was very efficient and helpful to have that follow-up information and to answer questions here in place today. So thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to members of the Board of Zoning Appeals for further discussion and or a motion.
It's about time.
Yeah, second.
Yeah,
Could we put the
Yeah.
the amendment number
Criteria.
up there? Or the, no, amendment, there we go, variance number, thank you. All right, I'd like to motion based on this project fulfilling all the variance standards in 808, that variance 24-7 be approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-24-7, which is the Highway Department variance to provisions for flood hazard reduction to Chapter 808. And just as a friendly amendment or clarification, does that include, just as a side note, the conditions listed under 808-6D that they've been met?
It does, I
Okay,
apologize
and
for
does that second
leaving that
also
out.
stand?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. At the top of this page I'm looking at, it says 808-6C.
808-6C is the criteria, and then in 808, there's conditions if you are to approve the variance based on that criteria. They're 808-6D, and they've met those conditions, but it's just a requirement of this chapter that we
Got it.
tag those conditions.
Thank you.
Yes. No problem.
So it's been moved and seconded according to the conditions for the variances and for the reasons that must be stipulated in the chapter. according
808.
To 808-6C. Okay, so please call the roll.
Okay, I'll call the roll. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance. Dee Owens,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Okay, it's been approved 4-0.
Thank you for your good work. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to the second item under new business, and this concerns VAR-24-3, Matthews Side Yard Setback to Chapter 804 concerning 1.43 plus or minus acre parcel in Bloomington Township, Section 16, at 4292 North Old State Road 37. And I believe that Mr. Brown is going to review this with us.
Thank you. So the purpose of this is this should be a design standards variance to chapter 833. I apologize, this is a chapter 833 zone. And the purpose is to establish a single family residence at 4292 North Old State Road 37. This was triggered by a residential building permits R-23-1239. And the petitioner intends to build a 648 square foot garage that will be attached to an existing family home. Part of said single family residence will be modified or removed to accommodate the new garage, as well as an existing canopy attached to the single family structure will also be removed. If the variance is approved, the petitioner's residential building permit will be allowed to proceed, as this is the minimum variance needed for the owner to do further development on the lot. If the petition is denied, the petitioner will be required to submit a site plan that satisfies the reduced setback requirements. So a bit of background, this lot is zoned Estate Residential 1 and is under 1 acre in size. While the minimum lot size for Estate Residential 1 is 1 lot, this was a substandard zone and it was thus deemed to conform with the minimum lot size requirement and is granted a reduced setback of 15 feet from the side as per table 33-5 in chapter 833, which says, quote, standard number 5, any substandard lot of record which was recorded prior to the effective date of this zoning ordinance shall be permitted to exist in its present dimensions. Such lots may have reduced side yard setbacks as shown below. In any RE district, 15 feet minimum for each side, and in any RS district, 6 feet minimum for each side. However, the proposed attached garage is only 8 feet from the property line, hence this variance was still triggered. Also, according to chapter 833's table 33-5, a detached garage would allow said garage to have a yard setback of only 5 feet, but the petitioner has requested that the garage may remain attached. And here are the outlines for practical difficulties for variance purposes. Means a significant development limitation that A, arises from conditions on the property that do not generally exist in the area, i.e. the property conditions create a relatively unique development problem. B, precludes the development or use of the property in a manner or to an extent enjoyed by other conforming properties in the area. C, cannot reasonably be addressed through the redesign or relocation of the development/building/structure, either existing or proposed. And D, may not be reasonably overcome because of uniquely excessive cost of complying with the standard. And here is a location map and site conditions of the photo. To the south is the side yard in question, as well as the comprehensive plan and the current zoning map. Here are just some aerial views from pictometry. And here is the site itself in the picture on the left, and then the picture on the right, that is the portion of the house and as well as the canopy that is proposed to be removed to make room for the garage. And here is the site plan for the garage itself. I will just quickly cycle through these. And so As we reach the second recommendation, staff recommends denial of VAR 23-3 as practical difficulties have not been demonstrated in regard to the proposed location of the garage.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Do members of the Board of Zoning Appeals have questions for staff? Mr. Daly?
Only if you could put the practical difficulties back on the screen while the testimony is going on.
Certainly.
My question has to do with the proposed garage, attached garage has the same footprint as the carport that currently exists, roughly speaking. Is that true?
There is currently no carports on the home, is my understanding. The petitioner is actually taking out a canopy and part of a home in order to make room for this new proposed addition, as you can see on the screen here. And
I see that canopy, I guess you're calling it a canopy and I call it a carport.
I see.
Yeah, so is it roughly the same area?
No, it is.
Larger?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Loftman?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. If it was detached, it would comply, but 5 feet would do, but if it's attached, it has a different setback requirement?
That is correct.
You know, you don't write these, I don't write these. But it seems like saying you can, that because it's attached, you can't do it. Is there a public interest that's being served by that? That you can describe to me, do you know the purpose of this, or treating these standards, this connected or disconnected differently?
So, Ms. Loughlin, what you're saying is that they're following the code by denying this, but is there any rationale for it?
Yes. Now, I'd had to ask the people who passed the ordinance to get that and look at legislative history, but hopefully staff might shed light on that.
Yeah, I can help with that. So, yeah, part of the variance criteria is if they can redesign the footprint and meet the criteria in the ordinance. If they are able to detach the garage and they can have that reduced setback, then they meet the standard. I think the purpose of that detached garage standard, it was an adopted section of the ordinance from when the city of Bloomington had extraterritorial jurisdiction. So this is only in the areas in the fringe or areas close to the city of Bloomington jurisdiction. And I think at the time they had standards for detached garages being behind homes or kind of not in front of the home itself, to be kind of set back. So that kind of allowed them to have a little bit more area behind the home if they had a reduced side setback. As far as your question as to, well, if they just detach this by a few feet and put it in the same spot, they technically meet the terms of the ordinance. I would argue it's probably safer to attach the structure, because if you detach the structure and put it in a similar spot, you have to have a firewall between two detached structures. So I think that could be one of your findings in support of the variance, if that's the way you're leaning on this one. But yes, we have represented the ordinance on this case. So
Thank you,
that
Ms.
answers it.
Nestor Jelen. That's a very good description. Ms. Owens?
Here we go. Thanks very much. You know, when I read this, it sounded like if you attached it, you got to have 8 feet, and if you didn't attach it, you've only got 5 feet. Or it seemed backwards to me. It seemed like you got more clearance from the lot line if you had the one that they're asking for versus the one they're not asking for. Is that right, or did I get it wrong?
So the standard is that if it is attached, it has to meet a substandard setback, or reduced setback rather, of 15 feet, whereas if it's detached, the required setback is only 5 feet.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's
Thank
hear
you.
from the petitioner. or the petitioner's representative. Is Mr. Murnahan or his representative here? Yes, please come to the podium and sign in if you haven't already.
No, I hadn't. I didn't realize where I.
Are you Mr. Matthews or Mr. Murnahan?
I'm Mr. Murnahan.
Oh, it's good to meet you. Thank you.
I'm the owner.
And would you, yes, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And you have 15 minutes to review this
Okay.
with us.
I want to address a couple things. One thing, both my partner and I are disabled, and we're just trying to make it easier on entrance and that, being able to have a garage access. If you look back at the pictures of the site plan, the footprint that we're proposing basically is the footprint of my carport and that it's like a screened-in porch area that was also added on. So we're really not adding anything to the footprint, maybe a little bit, but not by much. I mean, because I don't know the exact measurements, but, and I also want to point out that the house just south of me is actually the corner of their house is 8 feet away from the property line. So I'm not asking for anything more than what my neighbor has to have access to that.
Okay.
I'm kind of upset that all this happened because before I even called NOAA or got in touch with anybody, I talked with people at the thing, and I was under this understanding that I could get to within 7 feet, I believe was what I was told at one point. And this all didn't come out suddenly until the architect submitted the plans, and we were told, oh no, that was only if it was a detached garage. And like I say, we're not even.
Well, you're at the right place to reconcile these anomalies. And we heard Ms. Director Nestor Jellin's explanation about some of the historical reasons for this.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I'm nowhere near, I'm on even like a half an acre. So, I mean, I couldn't exist with the current zoning.
Yes, yes, we understand. We understand. That happens as the zoning laws change over time and all of that. Is there anything else we should know?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, it's not really a huge change other than it's going to be nicer looking than the screened-in porch and the carport that's there.
Yes, yes, and I'm going to ask my colleagues here if they have questions for you. Do you have questions?
I do not.
Mr. Daly, do you?
I do. Can you just, on the record, once again, reiterate why redesigning this as a detached is not appropriate for your?
Well, because it would being detached, it would only leave like a 3 foot, I'd have like a weird little alleyway, so to speak, and there's the addition of that I end up with a whole nother wall, you know, so additional construction cost.
So you're saying it couldn't reasonably, this problem could not reasonably be addressed by redesigning it as a detached? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, I mean, I guess it could be done per se, but it's like I said, it wouldn't be as nice looking. I don't see why I should have to do it because it wouldn't be as nice looking.
He's
It
looking.
would create this dark little hall because it'd be a north-south.
Yeah, but he's trying to help you make an assertion that helps us justify the approval. So that he's asking about whether or not it would be practical for you to detach it. And I think your answer was no.
Yeah, I don't think it would be.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to hear from other members of the public who are both in favor and or opposed. And if anybody is opposed, you will have a chance to come back for a
Okay.
5-minute rebuttal. Okay, thank you. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition in this room or online? There's Sean Matthews, who I believe is maybe the architect? Yes. Yes. So if you could unmute him and if he could unmute himself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, and could you kindly raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Matthews, please help us.
Yeah, awesome. Sorry I could not make it there in person today. I apologize about that. But I kind of just wanted to reiterate that, you know, if you look at the site plan of our proposed and existing, it does look like we are going 2 feet larger than what's already there. This is just for functionality of the garage, having 2 garage doors. And yeah, we could separate the garage and have a, you know, 3 foot away from the house and meet that setback zone. But for functionality and what it looks like, I think that this would be preferred not only by the owner of the home, but also by the neighbors just looking at it. I think that it just makes it a more efficient use of construction in addition onto the property.
As well as the consideration of the disabilities that Mr. Murnahan had mentioned, yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, so is that it for now, Mr. Matthews?
Yep, that's it. And if you have any questions about anything in regards to the design or anything, you could just let me know.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to see if there's anybody else, any other member of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition? I don't see anyone. Is there a member of the public who is opposed to this petition? If so, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand. Okay, so we come back to members of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a motion, a discussion and/or a motion.
I move that we approve variance 24-3, Matthews side yard setback to chapter 804 concerning 0.43 plus or minus acre parcel at 4292 North Old State Road 37. And as I understand, this is a design standard variance, and it I find that it does not impair the stability of that is will not be injurious to the public health, safety, or general welfare, that the approval would not affect the use and value of any area adjacent property in a substantially adverse manner, and because the approval is minimum necessary to eliminate practical difficulties for the use of the property that would otherwise result from strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance.
So you have found practical difficulties?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-24-3, which is the Matthews side yard setback to chapter 833. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes?
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
So thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for seeking our approval and working so well with our staff. Okay, so we move on to item number 3, VAR-24-4, the Daprile, I'm going to say it wrong, I'm sorry, minimum lot width to chapter 804. And this concerns 1 5 plus or minus acre parcel in Benton North Township, section 35 at 8541 East Wilderness Trail. And I believe Mr. Smith is going to review this with us. Thank you.
Okay, so the request is a minimum lot width variance to chapter 804. The purpose is to allow for the construction of a new single-family residence and a new pole barn structure. So the petition site is located in the Forest Reserve FR zone. So this zoning district requires a minimum lot width of 200 feet. So for this site in particular, all other design standards are being met. It's just the minimum lot width that is currently not being met. So the petitioner has applied for a new residential building permit, and that is R-24-47, and a residential pole barn structure permit, which is R-24-63. Both are on hold, currently pending approval of this variance request. So here we have the location and site conditions map. So this is a flagpole lot. So nearly the entire lot is constrained by steep slopes. So the petitioner is proposing to utilize the existing buildable area on the site. However, he would not meet the minimum lot width. These are just some site photos. The bottom middle photo is the location of the proposed residential pole barn structure. And then the top middle photo is the location of the proposed new single-family residence. And then, as you can see, it does border Lake Lemon. This is the petitioner's site plan that was submitted to staff. And I do have a version that's kind of zoomed in here. So on the left-hand side, that is where the proposed pole barn structure is being proposed to go. And then on the right-hand side, we have the proposed single-family residence. So for this petition, staff is recommending approval based on the fact that practical difficulties have been demonstrated. This is a flagpole lot that does not meet the minimum lot width for the FR zone, so construction is not possible without variance approval or seeking a rezone with a smaller lot requirement or a lot line shift with an adjacent property.
Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. Do members of the Board of Zoning Appeals have questions for staff?
Not I.
Not I. Ms. Owens, no. Okay, so if you would like to come and address the Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. Dupreel, please come up to the podium and I can swear you in. Please raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, and you have
And raise the mic, please.
yeah, you'll have up to
Okay.
15 minutes to explain to us and justify your case.
Yeah, I'm just, we used to live down there. We moved back 30 years ago to take care of some older parents. And now we were fortunate enough to find this lot. I did not know when I bought it that the lot was too narrow to build on. When I see houses around the lake with a couple feet on either side of them, I think they were there years ago. And that was grandfathered in maybe at the time, I don't know. But we are wanting to build a single family residence. We changed our footprint. We made it a little smaller. We put 2 bedrooms up to get the base of it smaller. And they asked that we had moved the septic back, which we came up with a different design in the county. The Board of Health liked that. It also moved it further away from the lake, the septic field. And that's what we're wanting. And the pole barn is up in an area where you really can't even see it from the houses below or anything. It's kind of back in the woods. But
That's good. We really like it when you work with the staff so that we can find the best solution for your property and for the environment and all of that. We really appreciate that.
well, I took it upon myself after I had been cutting some trees down. I stirred the ground up. I went and where all the water shit is, I've already got erosion fence up, and I took the time to preserve my bank with riprap also to slow the erosion down.
That's nice. Thank you. We saw that, and that's really important. So thank you. Do members of the Board of Zoning Appeals have questions for Mr. Dupreel? No? Okay, so we'll hear from the public, and if there's anybody who is opposed to the petition, we'll ask you to come back and rebut.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you. Are there members of the public who are in favor of this petition? If so, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand. Are there members of the public who are opposed to this petition? please come to the podium in the room or raise your virtual hand. And if you see anyone. Okay, so let's bring it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals for further discussion and or a motion.
I'll go ahead and motion that we approve variance 24-4 based on compliance with standards in chapter 812-6 for variance approval.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-24-4, the DeCreo minimum lot width variance to Chapter 804. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance. Margaret Clemens?
Yes.
Skip Daly?
Yes.
Guy Loftman?
Yes.
Dee Owens?
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved 4-0.
Thank you again for everything that you've done to make the best situation. We appreciate it. Thank you. That's what he said. Yeah, but he said that he was going to dress like Coach Knight. Yeah. So we move on to item number 4, and that's VAR-24-5, Williams Design Standards variance to condition number 48B to Chapter 802. And this concerns 1.39 plus or minus acre parcel in Perry Township, Section 27 at 1901 East Luke's Court. And Mr. Myers, if you would review that with us.
Thank you. This case is a good example of some of the language that you'll be reviewing again at the end of this meeting with respect to the rules of procedure for the Board of Zoning Appeals. Given that this petitioner came before you in January to request a use variance to the add the use of a tourist home / cabin to this particular property, and is now back this month to request one of the design standards variances that they needed in addition to that use variance to finally have approval to use the property as the use of a tourist home / cabin. So this is a design standards variance, Chapter 802, tourist home / cabin, condition number 48B, which reads, the tourist home or cabin shall be located no closer than 200 feet from any adjoining principal use structure not currently being used as a tourist home or cabin, or from the adjoining property setback line if no adjoining principal use structure exists. So the existing structure that's requesting this variance sits at 154 feet from the adjoining principal use structure across the street at 2000 East Luke's Court, hence requiring the variance this evening. On the screen, I have the definitions for tourist home / cabin and short-term rental lodging agreement, if we need to come back to those. And then this is just some background that you've heard before, basically summarizing how we got to where we are today. The quick summary is that the Board of Zoning Appeals granted a use variance to allow a tourist home / cabin to this property on January 3rd, 2024. So here is just a screen grab of the requirement that is being requested for a variance. It's 48B. And these are the other requirements that are also necessary for a tourist home / cabin, all of which will be met by the petitioner. Okay, so if a design standards variance is approved, the petitioner will proceed with the following process: submit a commercial site plan filing. Number 2, acquire a general improvement location permit, which is filed by staff once the site plan is approved. And number 3, acquire a land use certificate from the planning department. And that final step is more or less paper pushing just to verify that all of the requirements have been met. If the variance is denied, the petitioner will not be able to rent the space under a short-term lodging agreement with the tourist home / cabin for failure to meet all of the conditions as outlined in Chapter 802. Here we have the location map and site conditions map. If you remember from the January petition, the structure that's going to be the tourist home / cabin is this attached version. There's a dwelling unit above the garage in this area that's circled by the yellow circle on the screen. I'm just going through some of these pictures. Here we have pictures from the original listing that was found online. And here we have the letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals provided by the petitioner requesting the design standards variance to condition 48B. This is also in the packet. Here we have a petitioner submitted site plan that just shows that they do have some trees planted on the other side to the south, or excuse me, to the east side of the proposed, or the structure that has the tourist home / cabin that can provide some buffering to the nearest principal use structure, which is across Luke's Court at 2000 East Luke's Court. Here are some exhibits from the last variance application. It includes the original residential building permit, as well as an enforcement letter that were involved in those. We've seen these before. And here I have a few slides of letters of support that were provided to the use variance application. I felt that it was fine to keep these in here as a reminder that the petitioner did receive support from some of their neighbors with respect to operating a tourist home / cabin on this property. Okay, that brings me to staff's recommendation. Staff recommends approving the design standards variance, Chapter 802, condition number 48B, stating that practical difficulties have been met. There are no scenarios where the property utilized as a tourist home / cabin does not meet condition 48B, and thereby we are also requesting the variance be subject to the following condition. Number 1, the petitioner records an affidavit stating that they will reside on the property during any period in which the tourist home is rented. I will now take any questions.
Yes, Mr. Loftman.
There was some question as the petitioner, that the petitioner will reside. I thought the petitioner or the petitioner's representative, if I'm on the right property, that the son was going to live there, or is that another property?
That's a different petition.
Okay, they do sort of run together a little bit.
Yes.
So in this case, the owner of this property will at all times be required to live there, and if it's going to be rented out, if part's going to be rented out.
Correct. That's the way that
Okay.
the condition is written.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't confused, and I'm not now.
Madam Chair, I have a quick question for staff.
Yes, Mr. Daly, sorry, I was a little distracted.
I just want to be clear on your recommended condition is that they will own and live at the property while it's being rented, not that they necessarily have to be there on a particular weekend that it is being rented, correct? It has to be their primary residence, and not that it has to be a simultaneously, the weekend it's rented, they have to be there, they couldn't be on a trip or do X, Y, Z. I just want to be clear if we're making a legal condition.
The way that we have the condition worded, and again, this is open to BZA's final approval and rewording if you find it justified, but we're stating that the petitioner records an affidavit stating that they will reside on the property during any period in which the tourist home is rented. So our intent there is to make it so that anytime the property is rented, the owner is residing and available on the property should there be any issues.
All right. One, I'm not reading that legally into it. I'm not a member of the bar. Well, not the legal bar, at least. Thank you. I'll be here all night, apparently. I just want to make sure, because while it says they will reside in my industry, that means it's a primary residence. Doesn't mean that they are on the property. So two things, I don't know if this swung through legal or not, but one, if that's your goal, then I don't think it says that. And two, I just want to make sure that the board is weighing that if we decide to put a condition in there.
Okay. Ms. Owens, do you have any questions for staff?
I do not.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's move to the petitioner's representative. And I think that Mr. Ronald Williams might be here. And have you already signed in, sir? Great. Well, if you'd kindly come up here and I'll swear you in, and you'll have 15 minutes to go over this with us. And please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And so
I don't really have much to say. It is what it is. It's a little shy of the requirement, but like the picture shown, there's a double row of really mature 30-year-old pine trees and a tall chain link fence that usually has honeysuckle growing on it. It got cut back some time ago, but it'll grow back. And then the streets in between us. And my neighbor, Mrs. Gilquist, she's good with it. You got a letter from her, so.
that's nice.
And I do live there. That's my only place I have to live, so I'm
Okay.
there, so.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the gentleman? No?
Absolutely, yeah. This condition that, staff, what are your thoughts? Do you support this condition? And do you support the condition in the way that they have discussed its intent, that if the property is rented, you have to be there in that property? Now, I have no idea how or why the county would want to enforce that, but is that your intention?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. So, thank you. If anybody speaks in opposition to this, you'll have a chance to come back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody present who would like to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand. Is there anyone in opposition to this petition? Please come to the podium to speak or raise your virtual hand. We don't see anyone. Okay, so we bring it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals for further discussion and or a motion.
Well, I move to approve variance 24. I move to approve, thank you. I move to approve variance 24-5, design standard variance to chapter 802. And this doesn't give me the address on but I got it here.
It is 1901.
Yeah, here we go. 1901 East Luke's Court. On there we go, that it, I approve the design standard variance because practical difficulties are met. There are no scenarios where the property utilized as a tourist home does not meet this condition. But it would be subject to the following condition. Petitioner records an affidavit stating they will reside on the property during any period in which the tourist home is rented. It sounds like there's no dispute or concern about this owner. It seems to me if it was 4th of July week and the owner was going to be out of town that weekend, but still resided on the property, they would meet this. But that's not pertinent to this. I think it is, as written, it doesn't require them to be present on the property, and those are different. They to reside on and be present would be different, and I think that's sensible in this situation. So I'm not going to move to change those conditions.
I'm not sure I understood what you just said there at the end.
I'm moving to approve this with the conditioner. Petition records an affidavit stating petitioner will reside in the property during any period in which the tourist home is rented.
So that it would be his residence.
That it would be his residence, but you also agree that legally that it doesn't say he has to be present simultaneously?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I can second.
Okay.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. I do want to just clarify that since this is a variance, it will run with the land. So if there's a new owner, this condition could still apply, but
Would still
understanding your point. Okay. All right, so it's been moved and seconded for VAR-24-5, the Williams Design Standard Variance to Condition 48B from Chapter 802, with the condition that the petitioner records an affidavit stating that they will reside on the property during any period in which the tourist home is rented. A vote in favor is a vote to approve with that condition. Skip Daly?
Quick legal check from Mr. Schilling. Am I able to pass my vote until the end, out of turn? If the president's will, may
I
I,
agree with that.
may I,
Yes.
may I pass until?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Skip Daly.
I am going to abstain, and I'm going to explain why. It's because I am not necessarily comfortable with the county putting this condition on in two manners. One, that it's ambiguously stated, and two, I just don't like the precedent that this could potentially set down the road. I don't think our local government or municipalities, either one, are established or designed to enforce such a rule, and I don't understand the rationale behind the benefit. While I do recommend this get approved, I cannot approve this with my vote based on that condition being ambiguous and in there. So because it has passed without my vote, I will abstain.
Okay, so the variance was approved by a vote of 3-0 to 1.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you for coming in again today. It's been approved. Thank you. And thank you for working with us. Thank you. We move on now to the fifth case, and that concerns VAR-24-6, and that's Van Sant use variance for convenience storage to Chapter 802 concerning 1.79 plus or minus acre parcel in Salt Creek Township, Section 18 at 3434 South Night Ridge Road. And Mr. Smith, if you would review this with us.
Absolutely. So the request is a use variance to Chapter 802 to allow convenience storage at 3434 South Night Ridge Road. The petition site is not currently being utilized for any use. The property is located in the Environmental Constraints Overlay Area 3, also known as ECO 3,
Yes.
and does not meet the design standards of the zone Conservation Residential, or CR. The petitioner intends to demolish the existing abandoned structures and utilize the site for the construction of convenience storage units. Here we have the location and site conditions maps. So there exists two dilapidated structures on the lot. You can see one that's closer to Night Ridge Road, and then there's another structure back here it's kind of covered in the red, but it is back here towards the rear part of the property. The site adjoins a residence to the east and the East Monroe Water Corporation to the west, and State Road 446, State Road 446, not State Road 46, located behind the property. So some background for this petition. So Chapter 802 of the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance defines convenience storage as a storage service primarily for personal effects and household goods within an enclosed storage area having individual access, but excluding uses such as workshops, hobby shops, manufacturing, or commercial activities, and may include an on-site apartment for a resident manager.
Could I interrupt for just one moment? I have a question for Mr. Schilling. Because I'm on the board of directors of the East Monroe Water Corporation, does that represent a conflict of interest for me? We do not believe so? Okay. Thank you. Okay, you can proceed.
Madam Chair, do you believe that your presence on that board will influence one way or another your presiding over this or voting on it?
I don't, you know, at this point, I don't know. I don't have a financial stake, but if I feel, I don't know if it's acceptable that if I feel awkward, I just remove myself, or if I should remove myself now. I just don't understand what to do. Mr. Schilling. But nobody has spoken with me about this or anything, you know, so I don't know.
Yeah, most of the conflict situations require a direct financial interest.
I don't have ones, but if I do feel such an awkward position, I think I would just abstain from discussion and or a vote.
Right, if you feel that you can't assess this petition fairly.
Yes,
then-
okay, great. I feel that I can so far, so it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Okay, Mr. Smith.
Okay. Continuing, so the use of convenience storage is only permitted in these zoning districts, and those are light business, general business, or sorry, that should be limited business, general business and light industrial zoning districts, subject to special conditions number 4, number 6, and number 21. So number 4 is that an on-site apartment shall not exceed 1,500 square feet and shall be attached to and incorporated into the convenience storage facility. Number 6 being that all storage of materials shall be indoors. The condition does not apply to automotive repair when the use is located in the heavy industrial district, so this is not applicable to that. And then number 21, also not applicable, but the use is prohibited in the area within 500 feet measured perpendicularly from the nearest lane of traffic along State Road 37. These are the zoning district and comprehensive plan maps. So in terms of zoning, it's a little bit mixed here, but most of it is either conservation residential, forest reserve, or as an outlier, the institutional public, which is the East Monroe Water Corporation, and then a pre-existing business zone further down the road. And then the comprehensive plan, this entire area is designated as rural residential. And so these are some site photos of the location. So we have the building that's closest to Night Ridge Road and also is adjoining the East Monroe Water Corporation, that's at the top left. And then the second structure is on the bottom right here of the screen. This is the petitioner's letter or proposal. This is also included in the packet. I'm happy to come back to this slide if the Board of Zoning Appeals would like. This is the petitioner's site plan. It's a conceptual site plan, so this is kind of what they're thinking of designing the location to be. And they have also provided an overlay map here, so it has the photos, the aerial photos of the site, and they've put the site plan over top of it so you can see exactly where each of the units are going. And then I can also come back to these tables, but these are uses that are either permitted or conditional in the conservation residential district. And all these uses from agricultural, residential to public or business and personal services, as well as some others here. And we have retail, automotive and transportation, recreation, and also manufacturing. And next, we have our staff recommendation. So for the use variance to allow convenient storage, staff is recommending denial. So that reasoning being that there is no substantial evidence that the property cannot be utilized under one of the permitted uses listed in the CR zoning district and therefore does not meet criteria 812-5D. In addition, the comprehensive plan states that this area is designated as rural residential, which would conflict with the request for a commercial use such as convenient storage and therefore would not meet criteria 812-5E. And then on the right-hand side, I have those conditions and I highlighted the conditions that are in question.
Okay, do members of the Board of Zoning Appeals have questions for staff? Mr. Daly, Ms. Owens, do you?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm a little amazed that this would be moot if he just opened up a taxidermy shop in that one of the storage units.
Thank you. The petitioner, either Mr. or Mrs. Van Sant or Dozier, if you would kindly come to the podium and I'll swear you in. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, it is not. I don't know. It's vacant.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And what is your name?
Nicole Van Sant. I'm an owner.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You'll have 15 minutes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So obviously we're coming for a use variance for this property here. My husband and I, we live on Night Ridge Road. I have lived in this area all my life. Actually, I drive past this property probably about 6 times a day and always think, what could we do to make this look better? As we've kind of pointed out, its location is right next to East Monroe Water Company, as you had mentioned. So some of the things that kind of make it peculiar for this particular property, and as Sean had mentioned as well, is that it doesn't meet any, obviously, of the zoning requirements for the CR. So anything we do with this property, you're probably going to have to see us back here no matter what, right? Because we're going to have to get all of these things taken care of because it is a smaller lot. But basically, we're adjacent to an East Monroe Water Company, and it has normal business hours, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. It has a light there. It has a siren there as well, and we share an asphalt parking lot. I would actually say, I think he has the pictures pulled up, like pictures from my packet. I think it was 1, 2, and 8, but it is the whole front of this property is asphalt. Everything that goes down to the back is asphalt. So it's already not very green there in that location. There's been commercial businesses along this road, and there's some pre-existing down the road as well. What we'd like to do with the convenience storage is just to provide that for residents in the area, myself included, to have some extra storage space to store things closer to us. Closer to the proximity of your home. I mean, there are ones that are by 37 out on the east side, but it's a smaller lot. It wouldn't be housing a lot of them. We did give a design drawing that shows kind of our idea of what we'd like to put there. It's nothing where it's, rows and rows and rows of convenience storage, anything of that nature. It's just trying to utilize this really strange, peculiar size property and put something there. We feel that it would probably be a really good buffer between the East Monroe Water Company, that is a business that does run Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, and then for the residents in the area. So we kind of become that buffer with more green space and so forth there. We would love to remove the dilapidated homes there and again, make it look nicer, because again, every time we drive by it, it's just always in your mind what you want to do with that. Cleaning up the location, absolutely. And then also, if we put a convenience storage, as we are in all of the eco area, we also wouldn't be requiring any type of a septic field that would need to be here either. And so that's something that we are also concerned about for Lake Monroe and the watershed. So something of that nature where we don't have to have that. We don't plan on having an apartment for a resident to live there. This is really just kind of a self-use storage facility. You know, people don't normally come to those very often. It's more of a, you might come once a month or maybe once a year if you come to check on your stuff or to get something out, or maybe the changing of the seasons if you store extra clothing or something there. So it's not something that's like a business of East Monroe where people are coming out all throughout the day. I mean, East Monroe has their employees that are there, again, the ones that are there stationed, the ones that are coming in and out, and then also all the equipment that they house back around there to do their job, but that's all stored there as well. So we're just trying to kind of make this a buffer in between that, give the residents in the area something storage-wise, not making it a business of, as Sean showed, the ones where you can actually see what is permitted there. And like you had pointed out, Mr. Daly, there are many of these that are permitted. I'm just going to scroll back to those on my sheet here just to give you a few ideas of things that could go there. Taxidermist, as you pointed out. Cemetery, you could do camping facilities there. And again, I think some of these things that are permitted would be a much more impact on the community there, and that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for more cars up and down the road. We're not looking for this to be a destination situation where people are coming to that business. This is just a storage facility, hopefully for people that are there in that area on that road. They can go back and forth and go by and utilize it there. But I was just kind of going over some of these, and yes, I kind of thought the same, right? With that, but I mean, a camping facility, I mean, that would be lots of use there in the area. I don't think the lighting or anything in the area would be anything more than what East Monroe already puts off there. So that's kind of what we're looking to do, and that's kind of our game plan to help beautify that, and with some extra green space as well. We also did some landscaping in the drawing to just kind of show that we want to add that around there and make it look nice. So when we drive by, we can smile as well. So.
Well, thank you very much,
Okay.
Ms. Van Zandt.
Yes.
Do members of the Board of Zoning Appeals have questions?
I do.
Sure.
Now, one of our standards is practical difficulties with the property, and we're not able to vote for an approval unless if we can find some practical difficulties, or unless if you present
Yes.
them to us. Now, in the past, some folks have mentioned their practical difficulties, as in the property has been sitting there vacant, and the way the real estate market is. What is the property current status?
It is currently vacant.
And how long has it been vacant?
Windows are boarded up.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
So potential safety hazard.
Yes, they're just we're trying to keep kids out and away from it in that area, vandalism.
How long has it been vacant?
I want to say that property has probably been vacant since it's been in my name and my ownership since about 2016. That
Okay.
has been vacant. However, it has been vacant much longer than
Okay.
that. East Monroe likes to use our parking lot when they when they have their board meetings. Probably used
So
to.
if there was an approved use that could benefit from this, you would think in the last 10 or 12 years that it might have been vacant, that it would have come to light.
Yes, for sure. And it is a difficult situation because, Sean, do you have a map of the slope there too? I don't know if that's on, does that give like the 15% slope and things of that nature? Right. So that makes it difficult when you're trying to build a residence here. Also trying to put in some type of a septic field here to put something on that space. And then you also have road setbacks too. So it is definitely a difficult lot to try to put something on there. And when we were doing the drawings for the convenience storage, that's kind of what made us think of it, because you can kind of make those how you want them to fit in there to provide that extra space. So,
Thank you.
yeah, for sure.
Does anyone else have any questions? I think that's fine. We'll hear from the public, and if there are any other objections, you'll be able to come back for a rebuttal.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition? If so, come to the podium or raise your virtual hand. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium and sign in. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And what is your name?
Brett Burkhart.
Merkart or
Burkhart.
Burkhart. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes to state your opposition to this.
Yes, I live next door to that property, and my property borders it on two sides. And there used to be a house on there. So how much acreage is there actually? The GIS site says less than an acre.
Yeah, I showed 0.79.
Yeah, I think they tore the house down because they couldn't have a septic there or something. But I got little kids, and I moved to the country to be in the country, you know, and I just really don't want all the traffic in and out of there, you know. I don't know. I mean, it's probably an eyesore the way it is, but I think it'd be a worse eyesore to people around there. You know, I mean, I live next door to it, so I think it would be a lit up. There'd probably be boats and campers and everything else pulled in and out of there for storage, and let alone people coming in and out of there for their storage. And I mean, they put gates and fences around storage units for a reason, you know, so. I mean, I just think that's a concern, but.
Well, thank you, Mr. Burkhart. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who is in opposition to this petition? Please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand. Okay, we bring it back to the, actually to the petitioner. You have a rebuttal. Ms. Van Sant?
I think a good point. It is a much smaller. It's not, I think it's maybe you had like 1.7 I saw in something, but it is like a 0.79 acre lot there. And so there was properties on there. We did do a demo permit, and we demoed some stuff that was dilapidated already that was attached to a large garage storage unit building there. Maybe the bottom middle picture shows just the garage that is there. And that's, the front part was what they used to call an ice cream shop. It used to be a business. There was an ice cream shop there at the top. And then down below, there was a cabin, and then it was attached to that. However, these buildings existed, and I don't know what year those were built, if that's even on the record, Sean, if that's something, you know. But I mean, those things existed prior to the health department giving much care with septics and so forth on that. And I don't know, but we do have it boarded up because we have had vandalism in there, and I have been awakened in the middle of the night by police officers calling me. So we are trying to clean it up, to keep it nice so people aren't spray painting on the building and going in there and causing havoc, and trying to keep it safe for the community. And that is really our goal. It's not anything that we want to cause anybody to their home or to not feel safe there. I think that this property will probably increase property value around there as well when it's not sitting right next to rundown buildings right there. So.
Well, thank you, Ms. Van Sant. Mr.
I have a question.
Yes.
One of the concerns was light. I think that Mr. Burkhart mentioned.
Yeah.
Will this have 24-hour-a-day security lights on it, or is there a way if somebody goes in when the gates open, then maybe lighting comes on?
I think there would definitely be a way to figure out what would work best for that area with lighting. Nothing is set in stone for any of that at the moment. And I know that there is a light there already. And that's kind of what I mentioned earlier. The East Monroe Water Company has a giant light in that area that I would assume comes on of the evening already. But the lighting is definitely something that can be controlled, because that's, again, not a goal by any means to disturb anybody in the neighborhood. So,
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a condition, but I know you can get lights that are down.
yes,
Down
yeah,
facing.
absolutely.
And maybe a good example would talk East Monroe into giving a light that wasn't as disruptive to the.
Yeah, I
the
think that's
neighborhood.
those old poles that they station every so often next to businesses, so.
And
just-
at one point it was commercial, but that's long gone.
Yes, yeah, it had other, I think it's listed as other commercial structures on it too, so this is kind of one of those properties that it's just been trying to figure something to clean it up, and again, I don't think Mr. Burkhart wants a camping facility next door to him either, so.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Daly.
Quick question for you. What are your proposed hours of operation?
For the
Are you
storage
planning
unit?
to have people have access 24/7? I'm not familiar with that industry. Is that a normal thing?
I think it depends on the actual storage unit and kind of how it is set up and where it is located.
Okay.
I think a lot of the ones that you probably see, my best example is usually like the ones by 37 or things of that nature that are in the commercial areas.
That have 24
That they have
access.
24/7, but
Okay.
that doesn't have
What
to.
about yours? What is your business model?
It
look
doesn't
like?
have to have anything that has to be a 24/7. It can have hours set to it that could make that work for the actual neighborhood for sure. I would not be opposed to that. And I appreciate that as a concern because I would understand that too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's move it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals and for further discussion and/or a motion.
Could staff put that list of potential commercial approved? Thank you. How about, what does number 1 accessory use mean?
So for each category, there's a permission for accessory uses within that category. So if it's allowing residential uses, accessory uses are permitted, but there is sometimes conditions associated.
Now, could you flip to the next, just so I can have an idea, and my colleagues can as well? Thanks.
Well, are
I
there,
think, Skip, I think that was wise to look back at the list again, because it seems to me that everything on this list virtually is more disruptive than storage units. Those seem to me to be very non-disruptive.
Ms. Owens, I agree. I am usually very conscientious of neighborhood objections, and I take Mr. Burkhart's comments very seriously, but it's not as if someone is saying, hey, I've got this residential land, I want to make commercial. It's all of this stuff is all right. The appellant could turn around and say, all right, let's put XYZ, anything on that list here, and it would be fine without our permission. I'm torn on that.
yes, Ms. Nestor Challen?
So just to clarify, a use variance would add this use to this existing permitted use of items. So it would not take away your concerns that they could turn around and do any of these other permitted or conditional uses. I just want to verify that.
Absolutely.
And a conditional
Absolutely.
use is not automatic. It has to seek approval.
Yes, and the other option is that this petitioner seek a rezone of the property to another zone that allows for convenience storage by right through the commissioners.
Okay.
But they could have a camping facility, assuming you could squeeze one in there, that's permitted, is that right?
There are standards that are associated with a lot of these uses that maybe aren't displayed on the screen. So for instance, a camping facility requires a site plan, and also it would, through the health department, require a commercial septic. So some of those uses could be self-limiting given the location or the size of the site. So
right, it's a lot of, was just building a residence, would that be problematic from your perspective?
no matter what they do here, I think Sean represented this as well as the petitioner, they are required to get a minimum lot size variance. So the lot itself is substandard. It's supposed to be 2.5 acres. It's less than 1 acre.
And there are slope issues that would affect a septic?
I don't know that there's been a conversation about a reapplication for, or an application for a septic system, so I can't speak to that.
Okay, although I think that in fact Mr. Burkhardt said there had been issues with the a septic system on that property. Okay, thank you.
I'm looking at all those industrial potential uses, and I don't understand the rationale of who down the road historically said, all right, here's the line in the sand. I can have a taxidermist or a sawmill here, or a veterinary office, or a camping facility, but I cannot have a storage unit. That's my only comment.
Well, do you want to make a motion? Well, you're so good at it.
I'll listen to yours.
Okay. I move approval of variance 24-6, Van Sand use variance for convenience store at 3434 South Night Ridge Road. On the, and this is a use variance, and on the basis that it will not be injurious to the public health, safety, or general welfare of the community. It takes a dilapidated, dangerous site and makes it better. The use and value of area adjacent to the property included the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. I certainly sympathize with Mr. Burkhardt concerns that it's going to mean traffic's going more, there will be more traffic in the area. There certainly will, but any use of this that's going to be permitted is going to have that. It's right now it's a vacant lot that nobody uses except for parking during overflow parking. And I don't see any other use that's going to be less of a problem for Mr. Burkhardt, so I don't feel that there's sufficient to say it will adversely affect his values, especially if it's being vandalized and problems like that. It's certainly a condition arises from a condition peculiar to the property involved. It's an undersized lot. There's evidence that it has steep slopes and would be difficult to build a residence there. It would be the strict application of the zoning ordinance would constitute an unnecessary hardship applied to the property. Because there's nothing else, and I would emphasize that this does not require a septic, and I think that's very important in the Lake Monroe drainage, and it doesn't interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan. And Mr. Schilling has one more concern.
I heard a suggestion of perhaps 2 conditions relating to hours of operation and lighting. I didn't know if that was anything you'd be interested in.
Well, I'm not going to say hours of operation because there are not going to be a lot of people accessing this at 2 in the morning. But if somebody needs to, because that's where they've got the piece of equipment they need, I don't want to stop them from doing that. I certainly would put a condition that lighting be conditioned on somebody being on the property and using it, and that it be downward facing, that it would minimize the reach to neighboring properties.
And I'm going to second that with kind of the same caveat. These sound like 2 very good neighbors, and I'm sure they can work together and figure out what's the best for everybody.
Okay, I will be abstaining from this in terms of the vote. So with that being said, there's been a motion and a second.
Okay, and if sorry if I missed this, but there was just one condition that the lighting be downward facing. You did not want to place a condition on hours of operation, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So it's,
Well, the downward facing and not on, if nobody's using the facility. It can come on and stay on, well, when somebody opens the gate, but it should be off during dark hours if nobody's on the premises. It seems to me that should be achievable, that when you open the gate, the lighting comes on and stays on for, up to an hour, and then goes off.
I don't know. Oh, there we go. Magic lights.
There would be timed lights. I don't know.
I'm making light of the situation.
Thank you.
so there's a standard in the ordinance that says that lighting cannot exceed a foot candle at the property line. So we would still be administering that requirement. They would have to do a photometric plan, but any additional conditions is what we're clarifying here. So you want the lighting, it can be designed as downward facing lighting.
Yes.
Okay, we will add that as a condition. So the motion is VAR-24-6, the Van Sant use variance for convenience storage to Chapter 802, with the condition that any lighting on the property be downward facing.
Yes, and I'm not going to make it a condition about the hours that the lighting will be on, but urge the owner to be sensitive to that in the development.
Understood. A vote in favor is a vote to approve with that condition. Dee Owens?
Yes.
Margaret Clements?
Abstain.
Skip Daly?
With great hope that the petitioner will go out of their way to be sensitive to the needs of all of the neighbors. I don't believe it's conditional, but I believe it's a great desire that that they will do so, that I will vote yes.
Guy Loftman?
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved, 3-0 to 1.
Well, thank you for coming in, and I hope that this works out for you, Mr. Burkhart and Ms. Van Sant, and just keep the ridge in peace. Thank you. Okay, we move on now to items number 6 and 7, and that's VAR-23-32A, Jacob's minimum lot size to Chapter 804, and VAR-23-32C, Jacob's side yard setback variance to Chapter 804 concerning 1 .21 plus or minus acre parcel in Benton Township, Benton North Township, Section 33 at 6880 East Rust Road. And Mr. Smith, please review this with us.
So the request is a minimum lot size variance to Chapter 804 and a side yard setback variance to Chapter 804. And just for clarification, the reasoning why the rear yard setback has been crossed out is because that is no longer applicable. So it is just the side yard setback and the minimum lot size variances that we're discussing tonight. So the purpose is to permit an after-the-fact, currently undergoing construction, 500 square foot storage structure at 6880 East Rust Road. The petition site includes a storage structure that is encroaching into the 5-foot side setback. The property is located on a 0.21 acre parcel in the suburban residential zone and does not meet the minimum lot size requirement of 1 acre. If not all design standards have been met, lots in this zone type that are smaller than 1 acre must seek a minimum lot size variance. So the petitioner's certified plot plan showed the location of the storage structure not meeting the 10 feet rear yard setback, but this was discovered after the filing for the variance request to be incorrect, and that is why it's no longer being pursued as the original request. The petitioner has an accessory structure permit R-23-425 on hold pending the outcome of this variance request. So some background on this petition. So the petitioner had been in contact with our office in 2018 after staff posted a stop work order for a retaining wall that was not noted on a site plan for an improvement location permit for the primary residence. These retaining walls, however, are not required to obtain an improvement location permit per Chapter 814-1B of the zoning ordinance, nor are they required to meet setback standards per Chapter 804. Therefore, the retaining wall shown on the site plan in Exhibit 5, and I have it on the right-hand side here, was able to remain. However, when the retaining wall began a conversion into a residential accessory structure, the requirements to obtain an ILP and meet the applicable design standards such as side setback and minimum lot size became required. And then I have highlighted on the site plan where that existing wall is, and that's where the storage structure is. So upon reviewing the building permit for converting the retaining wall into an accessory structure, planning staff was initially unable to determine the extent to which the petitioner's property boundary extended, as well as the width of the existing private roadway located in the rear of the property. So staff received information from a title company and surveyor to determine these measurements. However, no recorded documentation was ever found of a 50-foot wide roadway to run through the rear yard of the petitioner's property. So the results of this extensive research led by staff to identify that the structure is approximately 2 feet from the private roadway, or about 10.6 feet from the rear property line, and that's excluding the deed overlap. So there is a deed overlap, but this is not including that area. So just measuring from where that deed overlap starts, it's 10.6 feet, so they would meet that rear yard setback requirement of 10 feet. And then 2.4 feet from the eastern property boundary. I have all of those measurements highlighted in yellow here. So the 2.03 is the distance between the structure and the roadway. The 10.63 here for the rear yard setback, and then the 2.4 feet was noted by the surveyor being the distance between the structure and the side yard setback, which is not currently meeting the 5-foot setback
I hate to
Uh,
requirement.
interrupt, but what's the 10.63?
That is the that's how many feet away it is from the rear property boundary, excluding the deed overlap.
Thank you.
So the stated purpose of the residential accessory structure is to store residential accessory items. So it's planning staff's understanding that this structure is not to be used as a garage. The survey and title research submitted to staff demonstrate that the petitioner has legal access off Rust Road. It has not been demonstrated to staff that the petitioner has legal access through Tunnel Road, and that is the road that's in the rear part of the property from which this accessory structure is located. So it is possible that there would not be a way to access that accessory structure by vehicle from Tunnel Road. So furthermore, planning staff received a complaint that a retaining wall was being converted into an accessory structure. Since that time, the petitioner has filed for a variance and building permit to seek allowance for an after-the-fact permit, since the retaining wall is only 2.4 feet from the side setback, not meeting the required 5 feet. Since the petition does not meet the side setback, they are also required to request a minimum lot size variance from the 1 acre requirement. Again, they have 0.21 acres. So to put that in perspective, if the variance is denied, the petitioner will have to remove the side setback encroachment or forego the accessory structure proposal using the original retaining wall. Here we have the location and site conditions map. So pretty much the entirety of the lot is restricted to steep slope. And this is on the southwestern side of Lake Lemon. These are some site photos of the petition site. So you can see it is currently under construction, to our knowledge, not continuing. It's been put a stop to. But otherwise, this is where they are turning what was the retaining wall into now a storage structure. And then these next several slides are letters of remonstrance. So all of these letters were submitted to staff after the report went out, so they didn't make it into the packet. But I did provide the board members with those letters. Yes. We do have handouts here in person on the back table there. But since these are so extensive, if we want to come back to them, I'm happy to, but I am going to kind of go through these a little bit quickly since there are 8 of them.
Yes.
But these are all property owners within the area, so neighbors. And then we have the petitioner's letter to the BZA. This is also included in the packet.
May I ask a question? I'm a little, and this might be clear if I was, is Tunnel Road a private road at this location?
Yes. It's not.
There's also a tunnel road that is a public road.
Right, so what is, in this area, it's a private road. It's not a public road.
Is it, are a lot of people accessing it? It's a widely used, but it's not, does the county maintain it?
No.
Is it maintained? Is it?
Privately, yes, by the neighbors.
Okay, so it is privately maintained,
Mhm.
and they're the ones who've been paving it or whatever,
Right.
grading it or whatever. Okay, thank you.
So this is the company determination. So this is Blooming Title. And this was their determination that it was in their opinion that no recorded documents exist creating the 50-foot private roadway that is shown on the petitioner's site plan. So planning staff, Blooming Title, and the petitioner's surveyor worked for the better part of 2023 trying to locate any documentation and were unsuccessful. So that is why the roadway is not being factored into this variance request, because in terms of legality, we can't find documentation that it exists. So this leads me into the staff recommendation. So for the minimum lot size from Chapter 804 and the side yard setback from Chapter 804, staff is recommending denial. And the reasoning being for the minimum lot size variance, practical difficulties have not been demonstrated, and that is due to the fact that if the petitioner were to meet all design standards on the property, they wouldn't need a minimum lot size variance. And then also to deny the side yard setback variance, again, practical difficulties are not met, specifically C, which states that the setback issue can be more effectively addressed through a relocation of the existing development, building, or structure. So if the design standard variances are approved, the petitioner will be able to continue with said storage structure permit application as proposed and comply with all building and zoning codes. But if the design standards variance to the side yard setback is denied, the petitioner will be required to either remove the structure or redesign it in a way that conforms to the current zoning ordinance and comply with all other design standards. So that includes, you know, setbacks and all of that. And that's all.
So let me, if we deny this, a major presenting issue is this garage having been, or not garage, this storage area being built by the existing. Yeah. Now, if I look at the bottom middle picture, is that the existing retaining wall I see on the right there that's looking in the building?
Yeah.
Okay. As is that a legal structure? The retaining wall itself.
For planning, we don't require a permit for retaining walls. Those are exempt in our ordinance.
Okay, so if we deny this, it means they can't have that structure on the outside, but they can continue to have the retaining wall. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Daly, do you have a question for staff? Wait, Sean has not gotten to his recommendation yet. Let's continue. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I read that aloud.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I heard that.
Okay.
Sorry. Three denials.
What's that?
There were 3 denials.
Okay, so do you have any questions, Mr. Daly, for staff?
I'm gonna wait and hear what our petitioner has to say.
Okay. Okay, and Ms. Owens, do you have any questions for staff at this point?
No, thank you.
Okay, well, if the petitioner or the petitioner's representative would like to come to the podium, and if you've already signed in, I'll just swear you in. Mr. Jacobs. Yes. Please raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So you have 15 minutes to make your case to us.
And name?
Thank you.
Jay Jacobs.
First off, I want to thank Sean and the team across the road over here that's helped me with this for the past year plus. Gone back and forth. Everybody's been really friendly and trying to help steer me and guide me to do the right thing to enclose this structure and make it safer. And we have some storage to put whatnots for the lake in and be able to lock it up. We talked to the 3 residents that we were required to mail letters to. All 3 of them were in support of
us completing, putting a roof over this retaining wall and enclosing it, again, making it safer. So again, all three of them are in agreement. I didn't ask for letters from them. I should have. Now, you know, that there's some of the folks that are far away opposed. Long story short, we just want to be able to lock our stuff up. Again, make it safer. We want to comply. We've hired lawyers and surveyors trying to get the language fixed. But we just want to do the right thing and make it nice and use premium products like the house.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Is that all you'd like to say right now? I'll ask my colleagues if they have questions for
I
you.
did want to, there was something said about North Tunnel Road not being accessible in one of those letters, and it's accessible all the way past my property. You can drive right past that structure, and they store boats back there. You can drive right by it currently with a sailboat. I'm not sure if it's in that picture, but that sailboat's sat there for years, right where it's in the road, and you can still drive by it. The neighbors all pitched in and totally repaved. It's all brand new blacktop now, all the way back. And North Tunnel is private road.
Did you pitch in for that?
I did not, because I'm only about, I figured 2% of the time I might use that road. I purposely changed the address of the property. It was a North Tunnel address. I changed it to Rust Road just because of being able to drive in and be at the top of the house, and as far as the entry goes. But there again, no, I couldn't afford to help, to be honest with you. But I did talk to Chuck Cooksey below me, my neighbor, and he was the guy that put that together, and he agreed with me about that.
Now, you say this would make it safer. It would certainly make storage of your things safer. But does it make the retaining wall itself safer? Is it at risk?
Yes, if somebody's stupid and wants to jump over it, you know what I mean?
If somebody wants to jump off the retaining wall,
yeah,
then that would be a bad judgment.
That would be a bad move.
That would be a bad
If
move.
it's covered with a roof that's premium shingle, decorative metal roof shingle like on the house, no one's going to fall through.
Thank you.
And I'm concerned about that.
Mr. Daly?
I'm trying to understand that. I'm looking at this. I just don't understand the timeline. So and I've heard and read different things. So you put this retaining wall, and there's no permits or permission necessary for that, it seems. And then, because you've got a slope there, I guess, and I guess retaining walls have a purpose in here, but then when did it dawn on you to kind of make this a three-dimensional retaining wall with a roof that you can lock?
Well, just now that I'm getting ready to move down there, I thought it would be nice to have, I have very little closet space or
Sure,
storage.
yeah.
Absolutely none. So I'm moving
The
from a
struggle
big
is
house
real.
to a tiny house. So we're freaking out, like, where are we going to put all our stuff? And that would really help with that, you know.
So you just saw this, you had the retaining wall, so you said, well, hey, why don't I pour some concrete and make it, I'm just trying to.
No, the retaining wall was put in, and me being just an individual trying to build a house on his own for the first time.
Sure.
I didn't put the wall on the site plan. My error. We put the retaining wall in, you know, the Randy Range, your past guy in charge of the septic fields and all that, encouraged my excavator that he should do this to hold that bank and hold the septic system in.
And then you said, hey, let's see if we can take advantage of this area and put some storage there. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, well, Ms. Owens, do you have any questions for Mr. Jacobs?
No, thank you. I think I've heard what I need to.
Okay,
for your.
Thank you. We'll listen to the public, and there'll be possibly people who would like to speak in favor and those opposed, and you'll have a chance to rebut.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please come to the podium or raise your virtual hand, and you'd each have 3 minutes. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the podium, sign in, and then I'll swear you in and you'll have 3 minutes. Please raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And what is your name?
My name is Karen Funk.
Karen Funk. Okay. Please state your reasons why you're opposed to this variance request.
Okay. I'm really only here tonight because this build has gone against code after code. We own property.
I'm having
that-
a little trouble with the
I'm
mic.
sorry. We own property that is adjacent to his at the upper part of Rust Road because we own on both sides of Tunnel Road. As outlined in the staff report to the board, construction of the storage facility in question began without the petitioners obtaining the appropriate building permits, which is a recurring pattern with the petitioner dating back to 2018. The shed is located over 2 feet from the side property line, encroaching within the required 5-foot setback established within the zoning ordinance. This retaining wall began with a poured floor. Retaining walls are a retaining wall. This one started with a retaining wall with 2 side wings and a concrete floor. We feel like this was thought through in the beginning. Why would you need a poured floor for a retaining wall? That just doesn't usually happen. The structure is also constructed right at the edge of the tunnel road. While the recorded easement for this road could not be located by the petitioner's title company, this easement is recorded for all the adjoining parcels. Furthermore, the easement for Tunnel Road extends west all the way to Rust Road. Maintaining the ability to extend Tunnel Road in the future is important for all the property owners along Tunnel Road, a number of which are year-round residents of Monroe County. Currently, our only means of access to our homes is from the east with Tunnel Road crossing culverts for 2 creeks that feed Lake Lemon. Should either of those culverts be irreparably damaged, we would need to install the connection to Rust Road to main access to our homes. This is likely the reason that the Tunnel Road easement to Rust Road was created in the first place. We used to use Rust Road to access our property on Tunnel until it started deteriorating about 15 years ago. Over the past several years, there have been several homes constructed along Tunnel Road, increasing tax base for Monroe County. These property owners followed the rules and secured the appropriate variances and building permits. The petitioners appear to view these rules as optional and inconvenient. Their approach is to build what they want and ask for forgiveness if or when they are caught. That's just simply wrong. The purpose of a zoning and planning committee is to hold property owners accountable for not following county codes. Then we as neighbors don't have to defend our property and be put in the position of having to directly go against other neighbors to protect our own property. I encourage you to deny the request variances and require the removal of this structure. Do not reward this flagrant flaunting of the rules by granting the petitioner's request, setting a bad precedent for others to follow. Like I said, retaining walls are a retaining wall. We have several. But retaining walls don't typically have wings. They definitely don't have poured floors. And that's why we just kind of feel like there was a plan there all along, that the property is so small they can't have all the storage and things that they want. But most property on Lake Lemon has very minimal lots, and people have to have smaller sheds that meet code to store lake items in.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Funk. Thank you. Are there other members of the public who would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Please come to the podium and sign in, and then I'll swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And what is your name?
My name is Katie Price.
Katie Price. Thank you. You'll have 3 minutes.
I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I lived on Tunnel Road for 21 years, full-time. My husband, myself, and Chuck Cooksey were instrumental in getting Tunnel Road paved, easements with the city of Bloomington that were necessary to cross. And we worked really hard and we asked everyone to participate, and not everyone wanted to participate. Having lived in that area, the hills behind on Tunnel Road have been stable. The lake was made, I think in 1957, it was dug as a waterway for the city of Bloomington. The hills have never fallen into the roads. They've always been stable. There was no retaining wall that was ever necessary for that road. I know that building in the area is difficult in that I had to move across the lake because I needed a garage, and because of the easements, because of the lot sizes, it wasn't possible. I couldn't do what I wanted to do with my property, so I found another property. Mr. Jacobs made mention of him changing his address from Tunnel Road to Russ Road, which makes me concerned or baffled that they couldn't find the easement from the end of Tunnel Road, the gravel that was the access from Tunnel Road to Russ Road, which was usable up until about 15 years ago, but that would have been a Tunnel Road address. So if he changed his address to Russ Road, then there's got to be an easement somewhere in the documentation that back when they plotted this. Nevertheless, I know that he's got this structure that he doesn't have access to because he doesn't have access to Tunnel Road. I think he was asked to participate in the road, and everyone signed agreements with the city of Bloomington, easements with the city of Bloomington, so we could access over their property because they own portions of that road. And so I don't know what that structure, how that's going to help him in storing his boats and kayaks and things if he can't access it. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Price.
Thank
you. Are there other members of the public who would like to speak in opposition? Please come to the podium if so. If not, I'm going to refer to the online community. If there's anyone who is online who would like to speak in opposition to this petition, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, we don't see anyone. Okay, so Mr. Jacobs, you have a 5-minute opportunity to rebut the statements against your proposal or your request.
First off, there's retaining walls all up and down North Tunnel Road. All up and down. This is a picture of said.
Could you hold on to continue until you get back in front of your mic for the record, please? Thank you.
Sorry.
No, I just want it on the record.
But this picture is what?
So if you look at that picture, she said when I put that wall up, I put a floor in it at the time I did that.
Mm-hmm.
That shows that I did not. We put the retaining wall up. We never, ever intended on using North Tunnel Road as being our driveway. Always, from the beginning, when I started clearing the lot off, Rust Road is where the easement comes down that accesses my property from the top. There's no way you could have a driveway from North Tunnel Road on the bottom. Okay. I have access to North Tunnel Road. I can get there to that structure tonight. I misspoke earlier when I said I've never paid money on that road. I have paid like $200 2 or 3 times towards the gravel before they came out with this Invest in the Road program. Well, no one ever talked to me about what the cost of this was, and I'm strapped for money. I can't come up with thousands of dollars to build a road that I'm going to use 1-2% of the time. I talked to Chuck Cooksey, which is the leader of putting this road in, and he agreed with me and said, I understand, Jay. And he's in support of me putting the roof on this building. I wish I'd had him come here. Bottom line, they're upset that I didn't invest in this road. The other neighbor that says they have property above me, they're upset that I built that house there, and now if they build a house up there, they may have to look at my house. They've been treating me horribly through this. So, but that's proof that that's a lie. I didn't put a floor in that when I put the wall up.
Yes, Mr. Daly.
So what I'm looking at is the retaining wall that was built by you and a dirt road. I'm trying to.
Let me show you. It shows when we.
Yeah. Yep.
There's.
All right. The dirt road, is that the road that's now paved?
It is paved. Since I didn't pay, they didn't pave up to my property. It curves and goes down to the Sonneborns and to Cooksey's.
All right.
So since I didn't pay, which
So
I
this
didn't
currently
expect to get blacktop in front of my building.
All right, so you currently have dirt and gravel in front of this. It's not paved.
Yeah, because I didn't participate.
And what goes beyond? Is there
More gravel, it goes on and circles around, and then there's some boat storage back there, which you can access and get to just fine.
So the neighbors in question that have spoken up and or wrote letters and showed up, as in the one case, do not drive down this part?
No. No.
Okay.
No, they're nowhere near it.
He submitted these for the records, so I think we have to
Let's-
hold on to them at this point.
Is that okay with you, sir?
Yeah.
I'm just taking a look and
I
sharing
want to
them
make
with
sure I
my.
get them back though, please.
So,
Is that doable from staff, that he can get these back at some point?
Yes, is it okay if we take those for the evening, scan them
Oh,
and
yeah.
bring them back for you tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Bottom line, I want to put a roof over this structure, make it safer. It's going to look nice. It's going to look like the rest of the house. Otherwise, if I tear all that wood off, it's just going to be a concrete slab,
okay,
which originally was okay. I like that. But I need space and I need to be able to lock stuff up.
well, thank you, Mr. Jacobs. So we're going to confer and then bring it to a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. I bring it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals now for further discussion and/or motion.
I've got a discussion item.
Yes.
I believe that the lot size variance, if he doesn't have this storage area, this covered storage area, does he need a lot size variance? Or is that only because of the storage area?
If he meets all other design standards of the zone, he does not need a minimum lot size variance.
So what triggers both of these is the addition. Very good, thank you. I was a little confused about
The addition of the roof over the retaining wall.
Yeah, got it.
That's it.
It's encroaching into the side setback, so that's what's triggering the minimum lot size variance.
You really made that clear, this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, back to members of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I've got a question for staff. if
Yes,
it's okay.
Mr. Daly.
I heard the appellant call it a structure. I heard the remonstrators call it a retaining wall, which kind of seems opposite of their desires. What are you calling, what is staff calling this thing? It wasn't, everything seemed clear except what you're calling this.
In accordance with the permit that he applied for, it's a residential accessory structure, and we're considering it to be a storage structure.
A residential accessory structure. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Intended for storage.
Yes.
I also just want to note that there's been a lot of discussion about the easement tonight, and that's not for the BZA to determine whether he has legal access off of Tunnel Road. That could still be a private matter that's taken up by neighbors. Though the reason that we had Mr. Jacobs do some research regarding the private roadway is because we have a buildable area requirement that says that you can't put a structure within an access easement. Legally, usually those documents are very clear that you cannot obstruct access via a building or any kind of structure, so we don't really see requests for that. People usually work with neighbors and amend the easement if need be and then place a structure. This is a scenario where the person has placed the retaining wall and then started working to enclose the retaining wall and then applied for a permit. So we're kind of reviewing this after the fact. And so again, of discussion and for your decision tonight is the side yard setback and the minimum lot size. And there still will probably be ongoing conversations about easement access.
Okay. Ms. Owens?
Yes, thank you very much. There was also, back in 2018, a stop work order issued. It seems to me like there have been historical issues with, asking permission after the fact. And I think that's problematic. I'm still unsure as to the structure. The remonstrance letters all pretty much said it was blocking their ability to even use the road. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly how that is, how that enclosure sticking out from that piece of concrete blocks neighbors' access to anything. Can anybody clarify that?
I believe Mr. Jacobs pointed to the first photo on the top left on the screen.
Okay. If anyone is talking, I sure can't hear it. Is somebody on mute there? I can't hear a single thing.
There we go. Can you hear us now, Dee?
By golly, I can.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
So your question was regarding the 2-foot, Guy, you had a question about scaling back the 2 feet or scaling
Yeah,
back.
if there are, can we have the picture of the sign? There we go. So if there's a little over 2 feet on both ends of the retaining wall that are intrusions. If he got rid of those 2 feet, would then he be eligible to build this storage area in that smaller footprint?
So if he could redesign it to meet the 5 feet and he meets all other standards, then yes, he can put the structure there. But if he can't, then it doesn't meet the zoning ordinance and he would have to get variances. And if you deny it, then he either has to redesign it or remove the structure.
Thank you.
Let me follow up with a question. The way it is without a front and a roof is fine, question mark? Fine for the county. I'm not speaking about any private matters that may come up litigiously.
If it's just the retaining wall, it doesn't require a permit, but if he is enclosing it intended to be a storage structure, that's considered a structure and that does require a permit.
All right. So if you got a permit and put a structure within this retaining wall that was within the 5 feet of the side, so if he just didn't extend this structure all the way to the wings as they have been described so eloquently, if it was just within this, it would technically fall within the setback standard. Am I correct?
I think the issue is that he's attaching it to the retaining wall. So even if he does do a redesign and it's still an extension of the retaining wall.
But the wings would be within, the wings would no longer be the wall and they would still be retaining that dirt. Would it not? I'm just trying to understand this so I can make an intelligent decision.
Yes, I understand your question.
Yeah, I don't think you like it though. Uh-oh, Mr. Schilling, legal.
No, walls can extend into the setback, but structures like a building cannot. So if he encloses it and makes it a building, he's got a problem. If he doesn't enclose it, doesn't put up, it takes out that front wall, then I think he's going to be okay.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Well, is there any other deliberation or a motion? Is it raining outside?
I do not second that motion.
I don't know quite, I've become the person who makes all the motions in this group, but, you know, shy guy, I'm willing to proceed. I move that we deny variance 2332A and variance 2332B, Jacob's minimum lot size and side yard setbacks at 6880 East Rust Road. It's universal when you've got these little lots near Lake Lemon, you don't have the storage you want. And I don't see any reason to change the application of the requirements of the zoning ordinance for this property without having it create problems all over. The retaining wall, it looks to me, was a really good idea, but that didn't include the permission to create storage there. So I'm not satisfied that that this should be granted.
And Guy, I'm pretty good at seconding, so I will do that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to deny both VAR-23-32A, Jacob's minimum lot size variance to Chapter 804, and VAR-23-32C, Jacob's side yard setback variance to Chapter 804. A vote in favor is a vote to deny both variance applications. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Skip Daly,
No.
okay, the motion to deny was approved 3-1.
Now, Mr. Jacobs, we're sorry this did not go your way today. Well, you know, we factored in everything, including the neighbors' protests about what you've done there. And we know it's personal and we're sorry it did not go your way.
And
So,
I want to add, I really appreciate your stating how much you appreciate our staff working with you to try to make this work, because we count on them to work directly with the public, and then we got to do what we got to do when the case comes before us. But I'm glad to hear that you feel that they've been cooperative with you. Thank you for saying
and
that.
ideally, we'd like, you know, the neighborhood to get along and, you know, just try to be sensitive to each other and have a nice neighborhood. But thank you for working toward that end, you know, so thank you. And I don't know if we need these photographs or if we should give them back to Mr. J.
They were introduced into the record, so we have to hold on to them.
Okay, so Jackie will give those back to you, Mr. Jacobs. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're moving on then back to the administrative business. Let's try to see what we can do to perfect this so we can get it off our docket. It's been on our docket for about 3 or 4 months now.
I do have a friendly amendment.
Yes.
If you would hear me out, and I will read that to you.
Great.
Let me put it back up on the screen.
Okay.
Sorry.
And thanks to Alex for hanging out with us and keeping up a good spirit despite the long evening. Thank you.
And on that note, I think I'm going to propose that we separate what is agreed upon and what might be need more discussion in terms of the amendments, meaning the challenges that I have with the yellow that's in front of us now, as opposed to the previous recommended amendment.
We could bring it back to you in writing. The suggestion that I had heard from the group possibly is that we could change it to say, unless an amended application letter is requested by the appellant petitioner to planning staff, moved by a board member to place on the BZA agenda and adopted by unanimous vote by all members present. I don't know if
That
would
satisfies, I think that's good, I think, myself.
That would satisfy my concern, and
Okay.
I hope you understand my concern, and it's
Sure.
meant for the greater good.
Yeah.
Of course, we assume that. Yeah. Yes, okay. So then what about the other item for consideration about use variances versus site plans and all of that? Is it okay with us? It is with me because it saves the petitioner money, being able to avoid a site plan on a use that is never approved, so to speak.
I haven't heard from Ms. Owens on any of this, and I would like to.
Well, thank you. I'm really okay with it. We've gone through so many iterations of this. I didn't really have much of a problem with the way it was in the first place. So as long as it isn't made uglier, I'm good.
All right, why don't I just cut to the chase and say, I will move to accept the yellow highlighted amendments with the exception of what our director just read onto the record for page 7.
BZA, well, there's another BZA page. It's 6 and 7, sorry. Pages 6 and 7.
Okay.
It starts on 6.
Well, that's thank you
Okay.
for 6 and 7. Is that good enough for a motion for your records?
Yes, I'll repeat this section. I'll just read the section that's being changed for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the changes to the rules of procedure for the BZA as presented in the packet with the following change starting on the BZA rules of procedure on page 7 and 6. So number 4, it will read as an appeal or petition which has been decided against the petitioner shall not again be placed on the docket for consideration by the board within a period of 12 months from the date of decision, unless an amended application letter is requested by the appellant petitioner to the planning staff, moved by a board member to place on the BZA agenda, and adopted by unanimous vote by all members present. And then the rest of it is staying the same. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the rules of procedure as stated. Margaret Clements?
Yes.
Skip Daly?
Yes.
Guy Loftman?
Yes.
Dee Owens?
Yes.
Okay, it has been approved 4-0. Thank you.
What about the other amended change?
No, I think we
It
adopted
encompassed
everything.
all of the
Okay,
changes
great.
as
Okay.
presented.
Okay, thank
All
you,
right,
everybody,
thank
for
you.
your patience, your good work, and your good interaction with the public. They seem to really appreciate your spirit and your good work. So thank you.
Move to adjourn.
The meeting is